London Real, sponsored by Bulletproof Coffee.
You know, I want to hear more about your visit with Edward Snowden, but I want to find out a little bit more about Thomas here. I mean, it's been said that you inspired Edward Snowden to do some of the things he did. Is that true?
Well, I always hoped that someone like Edward Snowden would come along standing on my shoulders. I recognize that I have blown the whistle on a number of government illegalities and wrongdoing, including secret surveillance, but that goes all the way back to the fall of 2001, and during the time in which I was a material witness and whistleblower, called before two 9/11 congressional investigations. And I provided them prima facie evidence of a lot of 9/11 related matters. I also blew the whistle on multi-billion-dollar fraud, waste, and abuse, and a significant intelligence failures. So I always hoped that someone, but I was all through channels. I went through every channel that existed. I did make a fateful decision in 2006 after exhausting all previous channels within the government, both at NSA and outside of NSA, but still within the government. I did make a fateful decision to go to the press with what I knew. And
you, because I think you originally, you chose not to leak any unclassified information, so you thought what you were doing would at the maximum just be a small penalty. You didn't expect to be completely gone after.
Well, I knew that going to the press in 2006, given that they had just launched a massive national security leak investigation as a result of the James Risen and Eric Lichtblau article. It was a blockbuster article published in the New York Times in 2005, revealing publicly for the first time the existence of one portion of the secret surveillance program, what the government conveniently called later the terrorist surveillance program. Which was at least one link overseas, even if the other link was in the United States. I knew that I could actually lose my job.
Okay, and you said, I think you were seeing the behavior on a level that was worse than when President Nixon had done in the 70s. What were you seeing that you had to come out and talk about?
Well, I grew up in the 1970s as a very young teenager. And my civic awakening took place during a period in which we had the Pentagon Papers and Dan Ellsberg. We had Watergate, and we had a president of the United States resigning their office.
You know how many people don't know about Watergate? You know, I mean, I was still young for it, but it's such a period of American history that if you look back on it, it's almost flabbergasting to a certain extent. But
this is flabbergasting. What we're going through now, people should be marching in the streets over what NSA is doing. And I think if we were back then, people would be. Because what's going on right now is staggering, and I would submit even scarier because of the technology available and the sheer numbers of people that you can spy on and that the U.S. is spying on.
I always ask people when they come here, what are people like in the U.S.? What are people saying? Because all we see is what's happening in the U.K. And most people say that most Americans just don't seem to have that much of a problem with a lot of the information. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think people are coming around. I mean, I think, at least with Snowden, in terms of in terms of believing Snowden did the right thing, NSA is doing bad things, and that we shouldn't have as much surveillance. I think public opinion is shifting. It's about 60% who believe that right now and about 40% who don't. But I think part of the problem is over the last 12 years since 9/11, there has been so much fear-mongering by the government that they've been able to create an entire surveillance state based on that, by playing on people's fears, and they're still trying to justify these programs based on, well, when the next terrorist incident happens, don't go complaining if you kill our surveillance. That has been normalized and inured to people. And so they think, I mean, kids who were born after 9/11 don't even get what pre-9/11, what a September 10th world was like. And therefore, they accept more encroachments into their personal liberty. And there's that whole, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear, which is simply not true.
Right.
This week on London Real, we have astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I wake up every morning astonished that an astrophysicist can have 1.7 million Twitter followers. The cosmos is anything where it's a frontier of human knowledge of how the world works. There's so many forces that want to deny a scientific truth just because it conflicts with their ideology. I thought of myself, because I could wrestle, as sort of a defender of geeks. There is no teacher in any time in my life, from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond, who ever would have said, he'll go far. And the act of finding out is the lesson, not the lesson itself.
On Sunday, London Real presents Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmos.
I'm happy to report that there's an appetite for the cosmos out there.